Hello and welcome back again. We're continuing our look at grappling. So far we've looked very much at getting in, grabbing our opponent, moving around. All of that's very nice, but in and of itself doesn't achieve me a vast amount if all I'm doing is holding him still and maybe throwing in a punch from an awkward position. So what I want to look at today is how I can keep hitting him whilst I am in grappling. This achieves multiple things. If I hit him, it makes it easier for me to transition to other things. It keeps his focus on pain rather than on thinking how to escape. And it means I'm just constantly adding more and more damage to him as we go along. Now, the reason it's called dirty boxing is this is all of the stuff that's outlawed in modern sports boxing. If you ever watch boxing matches, you get to the point where they end up in here. I'm going to talk over your shoulder, sorry. We kind of lean on each other a bit, and normally until somebody, then the ref will come up and separate us. That's because we're physically, by the rules of the game, not allowed to hit each other at that moment in time. Now, in a real fight, and indeed in sports pugilism of ages past, there was no such rule. So we're going to look at some ways that I can actually keep hitting my opponent once we're in grappling. So we're going to start off in grappling. We've had a look at how we get here. So I'm going to go for this very standard kind of collar and elbow style grab. Whichever grab you end up in, this is one that you can quite often end up in. So from here, let's have a look at what options I've got available to hit. So there are some really obvious ones. So from here, I've got a very clear hook. I can let go of that elbow and I can hook into the kidneys quite nicely there. So again, if you imagine, we're not going to stand here nicely whilst we try and reposition. This is going to be moving around. We're pushing each other back and forward. Just bang, in there. Boom. Yeah, it's really annoying, isn't it? Yeah. So I can do that kind of thing, okay? So that's great. I've also got the option to occasionally, back here, push this arm forward and twist it, and I can get kind of a concussive slap of my forearm into the side of the neck. Boom. It's annoying again. It's not going to do any real damage, but it's annoying. The other thing it does, and this is the vital thing about dirty boxing, is it opens up space. Here I'm very restricted in what I can do in terms of striking. However, if I hit him here and he moves, now I have space. Yeah? I've got the potential for punches here. I can bring my knee up into play. I've created enough space that I can get creative. Equally again, if I'm here and I hit here, you can now see I have space created that I can do whatever horrible thing I choose to. He's just waiting for whatever I do now, in that space. So let's have a look at a few other options I've got. One of them I quite like is the fact that I want to be able to hit him in the head, okay? The problem I have at the minute is he's holding this on quite decently well. I can't really do much unless I can break free, but that's a lot of effort. So this hand is the one that I've got. The problem is to get to his head, my head is in the way, yeah? Because again, we're in this kind of position. To hit him, I have problems. I can pull my head back, but then I've given him space, which is exactly what I'm trying to create, and he will exploit. So instead, I'm going to use this hand and flip all the way around onto the other side of his head, just using the back of my fingers in here, because it's not what he's expecting. And most people will do exactly what Andrew just did there and look that way. Yeah, that is enough space and time for me to maybe open up here and look to take the head. Okay? So it's a nice little distraction. It's a good way to start into other techniques. Another option I've got, I'll explain what I'm going to do and then show you, is I'm going to do the motorboat technique. So what I'm going to do essentially is I'm going to bury my head into my opponent's chest. The reason for doing this is, if I can get his head directly on top of mine, I know where it is without being able to see it. I'm explaining this now because once I get in there, it's going to be very hard to communicate. So from here, I'm going to start burrowing my head down here until Andrew's head is now directly on top of mine. I don't need to be able to see, I know where that head is. I can hit and twist, and I can put a reasonable wallop in there without actually having to see where his head is. So there's another nice option. You can use the motorboat technique. Okay. We've had a look at creating some slaps and things up here. There's some really obvious stuff as well. I can use my body to kind of smash, create a bit of space and pull back. So if I throw my shoulder forward and pull back, space. Yeah, if I just throw it forward, I'm not creating any space because I'm going forward as well, but I can boom, space. I can do the same with my hip, space. Do the same with my knee, space. So as long as I'm creating that space, there's lots of other things I can do. If my hand is trapped underneath his, such as here, yeah, again, that's quite a solid grip, but if I turn so my elbow's facing up and drive my whole arm up here, yeah, it becomes a bit harder for him to control, especially if I put a shoulder barrel charge in first, create some space, turn, drag up, either my elbow or my fist is going to connect with the face as I'm coming up, and now I'm open again, space, boom, I'm going to land something to make him regret getting into this grappling situation. Okay, let's have a look at some other options. Turn you back around again. One of the other things, and I've just turned him round because I want to attack that leg there, if I can cause pain, people will normally move away from it, yeah? So if I don't want to be lamping in here, if he's expected concussive force, if I just get in here and pinch, yeah, it's not comfortable, it's going to make you move away from it. It's not going to do you any damage, but if we're here and I go, yeah, he's giving me space. Equally, I can do the same thing. I can just kick into his shins, but what's going to work a lot better is if I just run my instep right the way down the front of his shin. What's a technique called purring. So if we're in here, and I purr down the front of your shin, what does your foot do? It moves out of the way. Now look at all this lovely space, my knee can come in, and all the rest of it. Equally, I can just, if we're moving, can drag him towards me and just give his feet a little kick as we're moving around. How easy is that to keep control of what you're doing? Yeah? All of these things are just keeping him imbalanced or causing him pain whilst I'm doing that. So, if he throws the punch, and I'm coming in, we get into our grappling here, I'm not expecting that from here I'm going to go straight into something wonderful, but if I can do something like, let's cause a bit of space here, back, I can get my knee in, now the head's down, and now I'm into something that I can actually use and make use of, and now I can start actually laying the pain on. So the dirty boxing is really good for allowing you to actually transition from one type of grapple to another. I think that's enough. I think that's enough. Hopefully that gives you a bit of a flavour of what we're talking about. There's lots of information out there on the internet if you want to go and look up some more dirty boxing stuff. And I encourage you to do that. There's some really good stuff out there. So, that's enough for this week. I think I've wattled on long enough. This is probably another longer video, so sorry about that. And we will catch you next week.